Greetings, welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to Code Wars Code Katas episode 30. Cannot believe this is the 30th episode. So if you are new to the show, you can visit github.com/codinggarden/code-katas. Something's happening. Wait, how is that happening? Oh, the stream is playing somewhere. Sorry, I'm dual streaming on Twitch today, so there's like sounds happening. Okay, hopefully that fixed it. Sorry. github.com/codinggarden/code-katas. You can see all of the solutions from past episodes and all of the solutions I write tonight. Where's that coming from? Sorry. Oh, okay. It's the dual streaming software thing. Okay. I think I've solved that. Cool. Yes, I solved Code Wars Code Katas, and let's say hello to everyone that is here. Hello, Nicholas, who says yes, just what I needed for tonight. Terminal says, looking forward to it. Brooks is early. Hello, Brooks. And hello, Terminal. This is the first Katas that Raul is here for. Welcome, Raul. Hello, Bohan. Bohan posted a meme in the Discord. Check it out. Hello, Lucas. Welcome from Brazil. Hello, Alicia. Welcome. Raul says, can't wait to one day visit Brazil. I'd like to visit Brazil too. Hello, Danielle. Bohan says, woohoo, Twitch also. Yeah, and I think Twitch is has like less of a delay than YouTube. And for those of you watching me on Twitch, let me know if the sound's okay. Is the audio okay? I got a host. Brookserker is now hosting my stream with one viewer. Thank you, Brookserker. Yeah, let me know if there are any issues, because I'm trying this thing. There's like this open source library called Multistreamer, and they provide a Docker container, and you can essentially point your stream at multiple services. And I'm trying that, and I think it's working so far. Hello, Aaron. Welcome. Oh man, it's been a long time. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Brooks. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Andrew. Hello, Alka. Welcome. It's Ghosts. Hello, Brandon. Hello, Joe. Hello, Nessie. Let's see if anyone on Twitch has said hello. Hey, there we go. Hey, Alka on Twitch as well. Welcome. ATD says, I'll be your lowly Twitch representation tonight. Cool. I'll be sure to check the Twitch chat as well. Alka says it sounds good. That's good. ATD says, I think Twitch has 10,000 times better chat than YouTube. Probably. Look at these little buttons. I'm totally new to Twitch. Yeah. Hello, Brooks on Twitch as well. And Eddie is saying, low-key showing off dark mode chat manager. Yeah, I just enabled it with like one line of code. So this thing is using Vuetify and this. And dark mode is literally one line of code. I'll show you where I found it in pre-made layouts, dark. In created, you just say Vuetify theme dark equals true. And I like dark theme much better than light theme. Twitch chat is not merged into this chat manager yet, but it should be. Yeah, I'm not gonna work on that tonight, but that's something that I want to add eventually. Basically, this will be one dashboard where I can see YouTube chat, Twitch chat, and Discord chat. So yeah. Hello, Murat from Poland. Welcome. And hello, Jack Skelly. Welcome. Watching on Twitch. I guess I'll leave the Twitch chat open. Oh, I have Twitch follower alerts on on Streamlabs too. Actually, I'm gonna, no offense, but I'm gonna disable those because those could get distracting. One moment. Actually, I don't even know if I can. I think I'm using like a legacy Twitch alert stream embed, and I would have to create a new one. Let's see. Subscribers, members, super chats, Cloudbot, pledges. Does it just do follows by default? Oh well, we'll leave it on. we'll leave it on. Cool. Oh, that's true. Alka does have a library for Twitch chat, like the library for Twitch chat, TMI.js. And I should enable low latency on Twitch. Why? Is it behind YouTube or is it in front of YouTube? I don't know, but we should get into this. Um, there are no recent submissions for Code Kata, so if you do want to submit a Code Kata for me to solve, you can do it on the issues tab on this GitHub repo. This one was submitted, but it is a 3Q, and this could potentially take me hours, so I'm not going to do it tonight. But the person did mention that they got this as an interview question, so that would be a fun one to solve or to tackle in the future. If you have any suggestions for katas for me to solve, throw them in the chat. I'll see if I can get to them. First, let's just pick a 7Q kata. Make a function that does arithmetic. What is this gonna do? That's pretty cool. You get two numbers. You get like the name of the operator, and you have to actually do the arithmetic. It's easy, but there are quite a few different ways we could do it. No oddities here. Write a small function that returns the values of an array that are not odd. All values in the array will be integers. Return the good values in the order they are given. It's also pretty easy. We'll keep it open. Deodorant evaporator. Let's see what this is about. This program tests the life of an evaporator containing a gas. Okay, this is not like underarm deodorant. This is like chemistry deodorant. We know the content of the evaporator in milliliters, the percentage of foam or gas lost every day, and the threshold in percentage beyond which the evaporator is no longer useful. All numbers are strictly positive. I don't want to do that. Sum of all multiples of 3 or 5, summing a number's digits, sort numbers. This could be fun. We could implement a sorting method. So finish the solution so that it sorts the passed in array of numbers. If the function passes in an empty array or a nil or null value, then it should return an empty array. This will be fun. Let's choose like one more and then we'll vote on it, but we could potentially choose a sorting algorithm to implement, like bubble sort or merge sort or quick sort or heap sort, and then implement it. Sort an array by string length, build strings from a hash. What's this all about? Complete the solution so that it takes the object or hash passed in and generates a human readable string from its key value pairs. The format should be key equals value. Each key value pair should be separated by a comma. This is also fun. So you take this object and you sort of kind of turn it into a query string, except instead of ampersands, you're using commas. Okay, let's vote on which one I should do. Which 7Q? So our options are this one. How do you spell arithmetic? Arithmetic, just like it sounds. Arithmetic. No oddities here. Like that. Sort numbers. I have a feeling this one's going to be popular. Just because everyone likes to see people implement sorting methods. And then this one, build strings from a hash. From an object. Go. That's the poll. I will share it here. Or use BOGO sort. That's funny. And then I need to share it on YouTube as well. Look at all the people. There's that one. Cool. Let's see. So Alka was mentioning about the stream delay, or the low latency. This is my break timer. Is anyone new here? If you're new here, say hello. But this break timer pops up every now and then, and it reminds us to take a quick stretch, step away from the keyboard, or at least get our hands off the keyboard. But Alka is saying we're already in front of YouTube, but it can be 1 to 4 seconds instead of 10 to 15. Oh, wow. I thought about that. So YouTube also has an option for low latency streaming. But it says some users might get buffering, and I want to avoid that. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it on the next stream. ATD says, it's so apt that you went live, CJ. I was just watching the VOD from last week of Snap Garden. It looks like such a cool project. It is a cool project. It's taking us a very long time. The second episode, which was my last stream, I guess, was it Monday? Maybe it was Monday. We got like 2 things done. We explained a lot. We hung out with the chat, but that app is probably the slowest going app so far. ATD is asking, do these code katas have time constraints for how long the code takes to run? Some of them do, and typically it's the more difficult ones. So I didn't mention, if you're new to Code Wars, 8Q, 7Q, these are the easiest. It goes all the way up to 1Q, which is the hardest. A lot of times in 5Qs or 4Q, they'll actually limit your execution time, so you have to write a very performant solution. Typically with 7Qs, they don't do that. And there might be like a general limit, but it's much larger than you typically would need. Oh, instead of buffering, everyone just gets 25 seconds of delay already. Cool. All right, so that was the Twitch chat. Let's catch up on the YouTube chat. Patrick says, Ninja Code. Hello, Andy. Welcome to the stream. It's been a while. Hello, Matcha. Hello, Asudazaman. Let me zoom in. It's hard to read. From Bangladesh. Welcome. Matcha says, I love these surprise streams. Well, I mean, this is typically my normal Code Katas streaming time. But I haven't been doing it as regularly. Am I simultaneously streaming to Twitch and YouTube? Is that a heavier load for your encoder or for 2 servers? So I am. I'm using a tool called Multi-Streamer. Here, I'll pull it up. Found it on GitHub. I've tried this in the past, and it was a very simple setup. It was just so my streaming computer is Windows, so it can't run a lot of the Linux tools that you need. So I had a VirtualBox machine, which was running a Linux, and inside of that, I was just using like Nginx and FFmpeg to take in a stream and spit it out to 2 different things. That didn't work like I needed it to. This thing is called Multi-Streamer, and it's like a web-based app. You have like a nice little interface where you can add different streaming services. There's a lot of steps involved to get it set up, but they do provide a Docker container, and that's what I got set up today. And it seems to be working, so that's cool. And in terms of extra load, yeah, probably I'm doing twice the upload, but I do have a gigabit connection, so OBS is just fine. Stream health on YouTube looks just fine, so yeah, it's fine. That said, there are hosted services. It's called something like Restream.io or something like that. I've looked into it. Yeah, so this is a hosted service, and with this, you would only be outputting 1 stream. Because you would be streaming to Restreamer, and then on their servers, they output it to other servers. So this would not increase your bandwidth. Yeah. But what I don't like about it is you have to grant them super user permissions to your YouTube and Twitch account so they can like create streams and stuff like that, which I don't like. So yeah. Max Raider is saying, please find harder questions. So typically what we do is we start with some simpler ones, and then we get into some more complex ones. This is just a warm-up, and also for noobs that are watching the stream, they can enjoy things as well instead of trying very difficult problems. Yeah, Brick's got it. And there's the poll. If you're new to the stream, fill out the poll. We're going to figure out which one to do first. Alan is saying, hello, CJ. Hello, Alan. I need some advice from you. I've been working on the last 5 years building back-end apps with frameworks like Laravel or Ruby on Rails. Now, in my new job, I have to use Node, and I feel like there are so many options for everything, and you have to install everything, where in the previous frameworks, everything came out of the box. That is absolutely the situation. Also, I feel like using relational databases with Node.js is a bad practice since everyone is using non-relational ones. Okay, so to this point, yes, that's absolutely the case. And I guess what I've found in being a JavaScript developer, because I used to be a .NET developer, and at least when I was coding in .NET, the things I was building did have everything built in for like for an ORM. You have Entity Framework. For like APIs, you have ASP.NET Web JSON API, but pretty much everyone that's writing backend apps with .NET is using that. I mean, there are other things, but it's like the majority of the ecosystem uses that. With Node.js, it's a whole different beast, and it's mainly because of the open source nature of JavaScript. I mean, you technically could have closed source JavaScript, but the simple fact that like JavaScript started on the front end, and web apps are built with JavaScript, and you can just look at the source of the page and see the JavaScript. I feel like that kind of fed into this thing in PM where people can just publish packages and then people can install them. But typically the packages on npm are open source as well, so it really creates this environment where if someone doesn't like something, they can just fork it and create their own version of it, or totally rewrite it. So yes, that is absolutely a problem, and I guess the way I solve it is by finding things that I like and just sticking with those. You see on this stream that I try new stuff all the time, but I do have my go-tos. So I guess there's my advice there, like, pick the things that you enjoy, use those. Also, if you're using it at work, you kind of just have to pick the things that you're using at work and then learn those things. But yes, it is definitely a whole different beast. And I'll say using relational databases with Node is not a bad practice. I do that at work. Actually, none of the apps I'm working on at work, which are full stack JavaScript, are using Mongo. They're all using either MySQL or Postgres. I am working on one app that's using Cassandra, which is technically a NoSQL database, but you still actually have to create schemas just like you do with SQL databases. So I'll say it's not a bad practice. It's just fairly common, and it's also fairly common in beginner Node tutorials. But yeah. Jason, hello Jason. Break timer equals almost guaranteed yawn from CJ. It might actually be like a trigger, so like when I see it, I yawn. Yeah. Hello, the coding cat. It's been a while. Welcome back. Kevin is saying low latency is better for interaction with viewers, but quality can suffer. Less compression by YouTube means more buffering for viewers. Yeah, and that's kind of what I want to avoid. And I've always been able to interact with viewers, even though they're like 30 seconds behind. And now with Twitch, maybe 15 seconds behind. Yeah. And yes, I'm streaming on both YouTube and Twitch today. I just wanted to try it out. Hello, Brandon, who says, I was just thinking you should add a dark mode to your chat client. And then you switched to it, and I saw it. Looks real good. Thanks. I mentioned Vuetify, which is the component library I'm using, just has it built in. So I put like one line of code, and it instantly went to dark mode. Hello, Aaron from Australia. Long-time viewer, first-time chatter. Welcome. Love your videos. Been in the IT industry for around 10 years. Finally trying to get a web dev position. That is awesome. I wish you luck. You are welcome, Andy. All right, now catch up on Twitch. Yeah, and Brooks is saying relational databases like Postgres are very popular in Node. Alka is saying everyone uses low latency on Twitch. Okay, I'll try it. Not today, but I'll try it. Ooh, polls are going to be built into Twitch for partners and affiliates. Yeah, the thing about, at least my understanding is if I become, or if you are a partner or an affiliate on Twitch, you're actually not allowed to stream to other services, and I don't like that. I prefer to stream to YouTube, so we'll see. Okay, Alka is saying the quality is in terms of like low latency is nominal. All right, let's look at the results. Ooh, okay, so we got 9 votes for build a string from an object. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, you're not allowed to simultaneously stream as an affiliate, so. And at least I've found more people find me on YouTube than they would on Twitch. Like I said, I'm not totally familiar with Twitch, but it definitely seems that Twitch is focused around live streaming and less around like videos on demand. And the majority of my views come from people that are not watching the live stream; they're watching afterwards. I know I could stream on Twitch and then upload to YouTube later, but I get subscribers just from streaming. So streaming on YouTube recommends my stream to people, and then they subscribe, and that wouldn't exactly happen if I was streaming on Twitch. So I don't know. Okay, we're going to do this one, build strings from a hash. Let's bring down the code locally, and the name of this will be just that, building strings from a hash. And we have a simple function that is called solution. And there are no tests, but we can see the simple example here. So if we console.log this, we should get back that. Interesting. It separates the keys and the values with spaces in between the equal sign, but there's no space between the comma. But essentially, we want to take an object like this and turn it into a string like this. Okay, so I'm going to start up Quokka, which is a nice little tool that runs my code inside of VS Code. And you can see right now, this console log is logging undefined because this function is not returning anything. So let's get that going. So what do we need to do? First, we probably need a place to store the result. So this is going to be probably start off like as an empty string, and then we'll build it up as we go. Then we need to iterate over the keys in the object. So we need to look at every key, and then for every key, we need to get that value, and then we'll append it to the string. So we'll say iterate over the keys of the object. All right. Now, while we're iterating over them, we will append to the result the current key and the current and the value at the current key. So we're going to be iterating over the keys. We'll then need to reach into the object and grab that value. And we're going to append this nice little thing to the string with a comma. And then we'll just do it for every key in the object. And then lastly, we will return the result. Cool. So I think I will first do this with a for loop. I think we can either use for of or for in. I always forget which one. But I'll do it that way. And then after we do that, we'll do something like object.keys, and then we can iterate with maybe a for each. And then after that, maybe we'll do a reduce. But let's start fairly simply. So first, we need a place to store the result. I'm going to make this a let variable because we are going to reassign it. We're going to be appending the string to it. We now need to iterate over the keys of the object. So for that, I need a for loop. Is it for in or for of? This is helping me. Const key in object. Yeah, so it's for in. Cool. This is typically something you want to do like in production code to make sure that you're not iterating over non-iterable properties, but we don't care about that for now. We're just going to iterate over the keys. So I'll say a const key in. The object that we're iterating over is called pairs. And then we need to append to the result. So here we will say result plus equals, and then let's make a template string. And so the first thing we need is the key, because that's going to be the current key that we're at, then a space, then an equal sign, and then a space, and then we need the value. The way you get the value is with bracket notation. So we can say pairs bracket key, and that's going to give us the value in the object at that key. We'll put a comma on the end, and then we'll return the result. One issue here, though, is the result is going to have a comma on the end, like that, which is not good. So does a for in loop give us the index? Let's look at on MDN at a for in loop. For property, why use for in? Yeah, we don't get the index, but what I was thinking was we could detect if we're at the very last key, don't append the last comma. Is this my break timer? Let's take a quick stretch. Ugh. Did I yawn? I don't think I yawned. But what we can do is the result that we return will just remove the very last character in the result. So there are some built-in functions for doing that. So if I use slice, can I pass in like 0, -1? Yeah. So if you use the slice method, you can say start at 0 and then take away 1 from the end. And this will essentially remove the last character in that string. So I'm going to do that. And we have a result. There we go. So that works. Now let's do it with object.keys. So essentially, we'll keep that same result variable, but instead of doing for in, built into JavaScript is this lovely thing called object.keys. And that will give you all of the keys of the object that you pass into it. So if I pass in pairs, this is going to give me an array of all of the keys. So let's just see that. Let's call this keys. And if we log the keys, we get an array that has A and B inside of it. So that's great. So now that we have that, let's just do a for each. And we're going to get each individual key. And then in our for each, we can do what we were doing before inside of the for. Cool. And so this should work in exactly the same way. And it does. But a for each actually does give us access to the index, so we can actually prevent or not have to do this at the end. So inside of here, we get access to the key and then the index. And so what I can do is have like a conditional right here and say only append a comma if the index is not the last index. So we'll just do it as a separate if statement. So I'll say if I is equal to some length, we'll have to figure out that length. And we'll say if it's not equal to the length -1. So if we are not at the very last one, then we want to append a comma to the result. Like so. But how do we get the length? The thing about doing it this way, object.keys and then .forEach, we don't have the array in a variable because we're instantly just saying for each. But for each does give you access to the array itself. So if we add this parameter, let's call it keys, then we can say keys.length -1. So if the index is not the last index, append a comma. And we should get, there we go. So it's not on the end. Awesome. And then another way to do this is with a reduce. So anytime you see yourself doing a for each and you are basically building up a string or building up something, this can definitely be turned into a reduce because essentially we are reducing the keys of this object into result. So let's do this with a reduce. So what we want to do, and ultimately what we should be able to do, is just say return that whole thing. And we need an accumulator. Our accumulator starts as the empty string because that's how it starts. So in both solutions, we can see this thing called result. That's kind of our accumulator. We're building it up as we go. So that starts off as the empty string. Then now in here, let's do a reduce instead. And now we need the accumulator as the first parameter, and we'll call this result. And at the end of any reduce, you need to return the result like that. Let's do this so it's a little bit easier to read. There we go. We've done it. We've now done it with a reduce. What else could we do? Let's check the chat. Let's see if chat has any other suggestions on how we can do this. We could definitely try to turn this into a one-liner. So instead of this if statement, I could do like an inline ternary right here. Then our code will actually it'll get a little messier, a little bit harder to read, but I could do that. But can anyone think of other ways to do this? Let's see, and let's catch up on the chat. Hello, the Coding Cat, who says hard to catch streams in Australia. Yes. Right now, I'm a busy person. I'm busy with work and different things like that. But eventually, I wanna stream multiple mornings in a week, and my morning is typically your evening. So yeah. Danielle is saying moderating chat on Twitch is way easier. I bet. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah. Because YouTube, there's like no tools for it. It's just a stream of people's chats. Like you can ban people or turn on slow mode, but yeah. Hello, Extreme Fool. Welcome back. Oh, Alka is saying there are a ton of tools and browser extensions and new mod tools for Twitch. Yeah, I believe it. I think like YouTube is trying to catch up though. Like they're revamping their live streaming tab. They're trying to make things better, but obviously they have a lot of catching up to do with Twitch. Yeah. Alan is saying, thank you for your point of view. So this was earlier when I was talking about like the Node ecosystem versus other things like Ruby on Rails or different stuff like that. I'll have to start building side projects to find out what packages I like. Yeah, and I think that's the way to go. And also whatever your work is using, because that is what you're gonna have to use every day. Modding via the YouTube phone app. Is that for Twitch? Yeah, so Quokka has a community edition, and which is what I'm using. And that is free. There are some limitations though. So I'm using it here because I'm literally just writing code. If you want to import modules, you need the pro version of Quokka to do that. They might have a student discount, but yeah, check out quokkajs.com. And pricing. Where's the pricing? Pricing? Pro. $50. And I believe that's a perpetual license. Or if you work somewhere, you could potentially have your company pay for it, which is what I should probably do. Well, this is my personal laptop, though. Oh, Brandon is saying, I've noticed a little bit of lag between your words and your mouth moving. Not sure if it has to do with the streaming twice or the new mic. No, I can see it. There's like a slight delay. Do you all see it too? Let me know. Yeah, and it's probably like your brain will forget about it and like make up the difference, but I could potentially fix that with a So are my words coming after or before the video? Let me know. I don't know if it's the dual stream, because the stream itself, or the I'm pretty sure it's something I can solve with OBS, because in OBS I can set a delay on the incoming audio, or either a delay. I can either delay the audio or the video to try and sync things up. Yeah. Oh, cool. Thanks, Bohan. So yeah, essentially, eventually this little tool I have right here will have all the chats embedded in it. It'll have YouTube chat and Twitch chat and Discord chat. But for now, it's just YouTube. But if Bohan makes a pull request, that's great. Hello, Pijo. He says, I bombed a CoderPad interview worse than is physically possible the other day. Good times. What is CoderPad? Is that like an online interviewing tool? CoderPad is the best tool. Interesting. Yeah, so I guess this allows you to collaborate and code in real time. Well, I feel for you, Pijo. Keep on trying. And even though you failed, I'm sure you learned something from the experience. Wait, what? For of, oh, so in trying to differentiate between for of and for in, for of starts with an O, so it's not an object. That's how I remember it. Okay. Because I used for in. Well, that's basically the opposite. For of starts with an O, so you would think it was an object, but what you're saying is it's not an object. Okay. Hello, Shafik. Welcome to the stream. Bohan is saying index in the object. Not quite sure what you're saying. Oh, there we go. We got a one-liner. I'll throw that here. We can explain it. Hello, Merchan, who says, I like adding the results to an array and using join on comma. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Because that automatically doesn't add the last comma. Yeah, and this is suggested by Merchan. We can absolutely do that. So essentially, instead of building up a string, we'll build up in an array, and then at the end, we just join the whole thing together on a comma. Kevin, demonetized. Because I removed the last character of a string? Yeah, reduce for the win. Hello, Aaron. Aaron is saying, I like the bun. Thank you. I actually have a double wrap going on. My hair is like down to here. Yeah, I could essentially turn my reduce, this one, into a one-liner, which is what I think Andrew Lane did. We'll look at it, see how different it is. JSON stringify and then use a regex. Oh, that would be tricky, but Interesting solution. But basically, turn the object into a string and then use a regular expression to replace characters and turn it into something like this. I don't know if I'll solve it that way, but that is a very interesting solution, and maybe you can solve it that way. Yeah, that's terrible. I love it. Eddie is saying, between your job and YouTube, do you have any time to exercise? I do have time to exercise, but I watch TV instead. Yeah, I really need to get a hold of my life. Danielle is saying, modding YouTube chat is way easier from the phone app. Yeah. So the voice comes after the video, but it's a small delay. So I let me just see really quick, because if I look in advanced audio properties under USB audio, millisecond offset. I don't know if I should just adjust this while I'm streaming live. Okay, I'm gonna adjust this while I'm streaming live. I'm gonna set a 500 millisecond offset. Test. Test. Hello, hello, hello. Test. Is that horrible? Is that better? Let me know. After the video by a split second. Well, actually, I think what I just did would have increased it more than. So I need to delay the video. Let me know. Joe is asking, do you have a good past stream where you use Node.js with Express and Vue? Yeah. So if you check out coding.garden, I put up my latest logos on there. But if you click here, so it's coding.garden/videos, you can search through all of my videos. And if you look at Newbie Tuesday, I believe the weather app. No, the weather app was just front end. Actually, this one, the build a full stack app with Express, MongoDB, Vue, and Bootstrap. This one fits that. So this is full stack, and it uses Vue on the front end with Express on the back end. Also, if you just search for Vue here, let's see. Yeah, the Trello clone. Technically, the Trello clone does have Express on the back end, but it is feathers, so it's a little bit more on top of Express. Yeah, and then the Craigslist scraper is an Express backend with a, I think, yeah, with a Vue front end. Yeah, so you can look at that. Check out coding.garden/videos, and that will allow you to search through all of my videos. Oh, no, objects don't have indexes, but I was wondering if somehow a for-in loop would give you the current index or the current number in the iteration. And I realize I'm ignoring Twitch, so let's catch up on the Twitch chat. Yeah. Brooks is saying, at the same time, I could stream to YouTube instead of Twitch if I wanted to. Oh, I see. You can't do it simultaneously. Is that the main thing with yeah. Okay. So maybe I can stream Twitch every now and then. What I thought about was sometimes I don't feel like talking as much as I'm doing right now. So what if I just like pointed a camera at my keyboard and just coded things and then just talked every now and then? And that is something I would more likely do on Twitch than YouTube. I feel like YouTube, people want more of like tutorials. They're not necessarily going to just watch someone typing, which is kind of what I see happening on with live coders on Twitch. I know a lot of them do interact with their audience, but a lot of times I see like music in the background, not that much interaction, and kind of just like coding. So maybe I'll do that on Twitch. I don't know. ATD is saying the Twitch dev coverage during TwitchCon was fantastic. I was fortunate enough to catch all of it. Cool. Yeah, so last night I just for whatever reason started watching a bunch of Twitch live coders, and a lot of people were talking about TwitchCon and all the stuff that happened there, and it got me interested in potentially streaming on Twitch. So why does the Twitch stream look better than the YouTube stream? I think YouTube will automatically select the quality like it detects your bandwidth, but you should be able to change it to 1080p. They both should be 1080p. And let's just see really quick. Oh, that's way too much. I should stop talking. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I totally forgot that I did 0 milliseconds, and then cam HDMI. Let's throw that off by 500 milliseconds. Test 1 2 3. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy N. Is that the thing? I don't know. Is this better? Is this worse? Let me know. Quality on YouTube is 480p? What? Does it not have a 1080p option? It should have a 1080p option. Yeah. Test 1 2 3. Oh, that's way better. Brown fox jumped over Z. Is that the Yeah, the sync is better, but 1080p is an option on YouTube. Maybe it just defaults because of potential like network bandwidth. Cool. Alka's saying, I'm on the live coders team on Twitch. They had a decent event at TwitchCon. Yeah, that's what I was reading about and hearing about. It seemed really cool. There is not a community like that on YouTube. Myself and Coding Train seem to be kind of the only thing like this on YouTube. I'm sure there are others, but yeah, there's definitely a bigger community around the idea of live coding on Twitch. Okay. I was searching, yeah, so I talked about the object. Hello, Christopher, you're up very early. You haven't missed much. We only did one solution. We're just doing a lot of talking. And I might actually solve this a couple more ways before we move on to the next one. Okay, yeah, so I fixed that. That's way too much. It made it worse. It's worse. It's worse. Hello, Amy. Welcome. Motivation, third time in a row to catch CJ live. Your projects are so awesome. Thank you, Motivation. Welcome. It's close. Maybe 250. It's pretty damn close, but not right on. Now we're just nitpicking. Is it better? I feel like it's better. Like when I watched, at least when I watched it on YouTube, the sync was better. Third time in a row to catch CJ live. Your projects are awesome. Thank you, Motivation. Welcome. It's close. Maybe 250. It's pretty damn close, but not right on. Now we're just nitpicking. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it. It looks good enough. Yeah, Coding Rainbow is great. I actually have a Coding, where is it? Here? Coding Rainbow sticker. That was what Coding Train used to be called. Did I call it Coding Rainbow? Hello, Greg. Can't you stream on Twitch and YouTube at the same time? That's what I'm doing right now. But what we were talking about earlier is if you obtain affiliate status on Twitch, then you're not allowed to dual stream on services. I think you can stream on other services, but you can't simulcast, which is what I'm doing right now. Aaron is saying, hello, Aaron. Any advice for someone who's done web development for over the last 3 years, internal apps, as part of their last job, but not as in a web dev position, and don't have anything on GitHub to find a job? You're probably gonna have to create some projects. And like that's the hard thing. You can talk about the apps that you built internally, and if your job allows it, maybe take some screenshots. You probably definitely don't want to upload that code to GitHub. Of course, talk to the people at your work. But you could take screenshots, you could write descriptions of all the things that you've built, and you can definitely put those on your resume. You may not be able to show the code, but you can at least talk about the projects that you had worked on. That's how I've gotten a lot of jobs. Like before the days of GitHub and everyone having their code available for everyone to see, you pretty much had to go by what was on their resume. And then, of course, you interview them and get some real evidence that they know what they're talking about or they know how to code. So yeah, I would recommend that. Take screenshots, write down descriptions of all the apps that you've built, because you have experience, you just don't necessarily have things that you can show. And a lot of other developers are in the same boat because they are coding at a company. So I would definitely do that. And then if you have the time, do some side projects and upload that to GitHub. Yeah, the Matrix. So Christopher's saying, I don't think you can stream on YouTube at all if you have that with Twitch. I think what Alka said, um, you can. Yeah, Alka said you can't do both at the same time, but you can stream them separately. Hello, Davis Mara, welcome. Okay, so where were we? We solved this thing in multiple different ways, but now we have some suggestions from the chat. So Merchan is suggesting instead of building up a string, we could build up an array and then just join it. So let's see what that would look like just with this solution. We'll do that right here. So instead of starting off result as a string, we'll start it off as a const array. And then here, instead of appending, we will just push it in. So I'll say result.push this string. And we don't want the comma, because ultimately the thing that we return is just going to be a result.join on a comma. So instead of building up a string, we build up an array, and then join the whole thing together on commas, which should get us our result. And it does. That's a great suggestion, Merchan. Thank you for suggesting it. And this same thing could be applied to any other solution. And actually, we could do it with a map instead of a reduce. Let's do that. So instead of reducing, we'll do a map and then a join. So now we want a map. So instead of doing reduce, we're going to say map. And then we'll just get access to the key. We shouldn't have to check the index anymore. And ultimately, the thing that we're going to return is this string. Cool. So get the keys from the object, map over those keys, and create a string for each. Let's take a quick stretch. Whew. I yawned. Someone mentioned earlier that I always yawn when the break timer comes up. Let's see. How long have I been streaming? I've been streaming almost an hour. I think I'll take like a 5-minute break when the next break timer comes up. But this now creates a new array with just strings inside of it, and then we can take that array that we created and join it together on a comma. And that does it too. Cool. So many ways to do this. I'm not going to solve it this way, but this is something that you might try at home. So what if we turn that object into a string and then use a regular expression to extract out the keys and the values? You know what? It may not be that hard. I want to do it. Let's do it. So let's do this. So let's call this JSON string, and that's going to be JSON.stringify pairs. And essentially that will give us a string representation of the object. So if we log it, we get a string version. And then we can do a match. Yeah, we can do a match and then iterate over the matches. Interestingly enough, so we could do like a replace. We could say replace every quote colon with an equal sign. Oh my goodness! Instead of just watch this. Instead of a regex, so let's say return JSON string dot replace. Well, we will need a regex because we want to replace globally. So I want to replace every occurrence of quote colon with space equals. Look at that. And then let's look at it again. Yeah, and then I could technically replace comma quote with Nothing. So we could chain multiple replaces. There's definitely a better way to do this because we could match against all those different things and then conditionally replace. But what we could also do is quote, comma quote should be replaced with just a comma. So now that gets us there. Well, the issue with that is we actually get quotes around the string. I don't know. I'm not gonna finish this, but this is essentially what Nessie was getting at. You could create a regular expression and extract the things out. Cool. And then lastly, let's look at this one-liner solution by Andrew. Called it X. This will not compile. We need that. Okay, so grab all the keys from the object, and then we're going to reduce it. Y is our accumulator, so that's the thing that we're building up. If we look at the second parameter to reduce, we're reducing this to an array. So Y is ultimately an array. And then on every iteration of the reduce, we are returning a new array with all of the previous values that were in the array in this new array, followed by the new key that we're adding. And then at the end, we join it all together on a comma. So this is very similar to, well, actually I didn't do it that way. So this is similar to the reduce, but instead of reducing to a string, we're reducing to an array. Cool. Let's submit to Code Wars, and then we'll be done with this one. We're gonna move on to another one. I think I like this one. Yeah. And why do I like this one? So this is technically 2 iterations. So maybe I don't like this one because object.keys, I would imagine, has to iterate over the object to get all of the keys. Maybe it's faster than that, but that's kind of how I think about it. That's like 1 iteration to get all the keys. And then this is 1 iteration to build up this string. Technically, this is just order in because it's not, there's no nested loops or anything like that. But it still is 2 iterations. If we look at our first solution, this is just 1 iteration. But then this slice, I'm curious what the JavaScript engine would have to do to remove the last character. But this probably might be the most performant. I don't know. Maybe the for each one is more performant. I've read that for each is more performant than a for loop. But let's submit this one to Code Wars. There are no sample tests, so I just need to attempt. There we go. We got it. Submit final. And I will add a link in the README. There we go. All right. Let's look at some solutions that other people have posted. Object.keys, and then a map, and then a join. We did that. We have a for in. We're accumulating in an array, and then we join it. Yeah, they're all very, very similar solutions. Cool. All right, let's catch up on all the chat because there are 26 unread messages. Christopher is saying, "Are you sure? I know of a 300K YouTuber that doesn't stream on YouTube because he is a Twitch affiliate." I don't know. I really don't know. Okay, I really think it's you can't stream to both at the same time, but you can stream to each individually. Thank you, Coding Cat. This was actually really easy to enable because I'm using Vuetify, and Vuetify has a dark theme built in, so I just enabled the dark theme. Aaron is saying, "Thanks, CJ. Unfortunately, I'm not at that company anymore to ask or take updated screenshots. Currently unemployed, though, so I just need to find the motivation to work on side projects." Yeah, I would still at least do a write-up. So on your resume, you should have a section for either like call it experience or call it projects. You could technically put it under experience. So on your resume, you worked at this job that you're talking about, and then in the bullet points, you describe all of the projects that you worked on. At the same time, you could create individual sections for each of those projects that you worked on at that job and describe them in detail, like what tech was used, what did the app do, that kind of thing. So I still like, I don't think you can't use it. I think you can use it, but at the same time, because you don't have anything to show for it, you probably need some other stuff as well. If I stream on Twitch, then we will get less attention in the chat here. I'm going to make it so that the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat are all embedded together. So ideally, everyone gets the same amount of attention, and eventually the chat will just be, there will be so much it'll be very hard to even keep up with. Like if you've ever watched a coding train stream, or if you've ever watched any uh like live streamer on Twitch, but coding train specifically has like 500, 600, 800 people watching, and the chat's just flying. I probably could not keep up with that, but eventually I've talked about some of the features I want to add to this, where we could potentially use natural language processing to automatically categorize a message. So if it's a greeting, that goes into a tab. If it's side chatter, that goes into another tab. Moderators could have special access where they can flag a message that they think that I should acknowledge or talk about. So there's a lot of cool things we could do with this. Yawn. Yeah, it could be because they're a partner. I don't know. Hello, Steven, who says, just got released from my job I was at for 6 months, building a site on React using GraphQL and a little bit of Next.js. What kind of job should I be looking for now? It's up to you. I mean, if you want to keep using that same tech stack, yeah, I mean, put it on your resume. Talk about what you did at that last job. And yeah, look for something similar. That said, like if you've looked into other things, like maybe you don't like Next.js or GraphQL, maybe you can start to explore what you do like. But I mean, I think if you were using it and you have experience with it, at least put that on your resume. And also, a lot of places hire developers. They hire people. They don't hire people that know specific technologies. Not every employer is like that, but there are a lot of employers like that, where if they see that you have technical aptitude and willingness to learn, you could potentially get hired at a place that does C#. But they know that you're gonna have to learn that, and you're gonna have to basically get up to speed, versus hiring someone that already knows it. But that's always a possibility. Yeah, I don't know. Yes, my brain has associated the break timer with yawns. Like when you do stuff in your bed, you get sleepy faster. Your body associates your bed to sleeping. Not working. Yeah. I don't think I'll always be. It's like that thing where people say you are now aware that you are breathing, and then you start to think about the fact that you're breathing, but eventually you forget. Brandon is asking what package gets the console log in VS Code. It's called Quokka.js. So if you go to quokka.js.com, you can install it. I think they have it for VS Code, Atom, Sublime, JetBrains. It's pretty sweet. Regex equals my enemy. Yeah. Yeah. Steven is saying, holy crap, the breakdown of the one-liner was great. That totally makes sense. Cool. I was just looking at the fact that my chat is breaking words, so there's a single letter M. I probably have like a weird style on there. Something like break word. Word break? Break all? Yeah, I like that better, because then it doesn't chop up the words. But yes, that one-liner was pretty sweet. Great job, Andrew. I might have missed. So Meritron is saying, finally, replace with $1. But I don't see any messages before that. I think Bohan pointed it out that sometimes chat messages don't make it into my tool. I need to investigate that. Yeah. Steven is saying, my concern is when it comes to whiteboard test and coding test, just not as confident as I should be. I really need to just work on solving some of the code questions. Yeah, I mean, the only way to get more confident is with practice. So I used to teach at a coding school, and That's really the only way. Like whiteboarding, coding challenges, those are a completely separate skill from day-to-day software development. Um, and so you have to practice those things to be confident in them and get better at them. Um, yeah, I would see. I don't know if you're in a large metropolitan area, but sometimes there are meetups for people that are doing coding interview preparation, and then you can just in a very safe space practice doing whiteboarding problems with people. Yeah, so you might check out meetup.com and see if anything like that exists. Amy is asking, how can I tell when I'm reviewing someone's code if their code is overly complicated or if they just know something I don't? I feel like sometimes they use things that are not necessary, but I don't know. Um, I would analyze it line by line. So basically, um, and potentially write it out how you think it should be written, right? Like if you think it can be written simpler, or if it can be written in a less complicated way, I would do that. Potentially, you do that in the code review pull request screen, like you add a comment. And I mean, if you have a constructive work environment, then the person whose code you're reviewing might actually be accepting of that and be like, oh, I see that actually makes sense. I'll do that instead. Or they'll say, oh, I did it this way because it's more performant, or I did it this way because XYZ. But yeah, I think if you can break things down, take something and say, oh, this should be written this way, just leave a comment. And I think that this really only comes with experience. Like, how do I know if their code is overly complicated or they just know something I don't? I know as a beginner, you kind of just tend towards this one. Like, they know something that I don't, but they don't always. And I like the fact that most of the time beginners do come up with simpler solutions than people that have been coding for a very long time. They come up with like convoluted solutions and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it comes down to like if you're reviewing someone codes, like that's a code review, and they should feel safe, and you should feel safe asking like why did they do it that way. Um, and again, it depends on the work environment. You could run into someone that just like doesn't want to hear it, or you ask and they're like, oh well, why don't you know? And that's not nice. But yeah, what can you do? Amy says, I asked because you are so good at approaching problems from many angles. Yes. Hello, Shintan. Welcome. Eddie is saying some companies used to measure an employee's productivity on the number of lines of code, so one liner would have put you at a disadvantage. Yeah, and anyone who does that just does not know what they're talking about. And because more code is a liability. The more code you have is the more possibility of bugs. So less code is better. That said, one-liners are not better because they're harder to read and potentially harder for new developers coming into a project to understand what's going on. So I'm not talking about one-liners. I'm talking about simple solutions versus verbose, overly complicated solutions. Mirchan is saying, I was referring to the replace solution where some numbers were left in quotes at the end. Yeah, I guess I could technically do that. So you would do a match on double quotes with the key, and then a matcher for the value with optional quotes around it. Yeah, it would be doable. Steven is saying, I'm in Austin, and oddly enough, it's super dead meetup-wise. That's unfortunate to hear. It seems like, or at least of what I've heard, like Austin actually does have a tech scene, but I don't know. Aaron is asking, would it be worth only briefly mentioning projects on my resume and linking out to a profile website that explains the project in more detail to prevent the resume from being too long? I would say have as much as you can on there without it being too long. You definitely don't just want to say like the name of the app and then a link, because it depends on the flow or the work process of the recruiter. But a lot of times they may be dealing with just a stack of resumes and they're just going one by one in like potentially a printed version, or maybe like a bunch of PDFs on their desktop, and they might not have the time to click on that link and actually view the project, or type that link in and view the project. So I would suggest put as much detail as possible without it being too long. And then of course in the link that they go to, you can have a much more detailed description and screenshots and all that good stuff. Yeah, Primp is a website for practice interviews. They actually reached out to me once and asked if I would do a live stream, but then I totally forgot. Like, asked if I would do a live stream for their people. Yeah, but then I totally forgot. But yes, you can sign up here and do practice interviews with people online, so that's pretty cool. I don't know if it was a great answer, but you're welcome, Amy. I talked a lot. Brix is saying, the difference I see between beginners and seniors is that the seniors will often come back around to review their methods and refactor to a better method. Sure, but I have seen seniors that overcomplicate things, that like, yeah, they they get lost in the weeds and forget about the simpler ways of solving things. Alicia is saying, I'm in Austin as well, and I agree. That sucks. And hello, Alicia. But I've thought about, I haven't visited Austin, but I've heard good things. And I thought that they would have like a decent tech scene. Like Denver's tech scene is amazing. Let's just go to meetup.com. Okay, so I want to search within 10 miles of Denver for tech meetups, all upcoming events. Okay, so tomorrow in Denver, Colorado, there's engineering leaders meetup, there's a blockchain meetup, Colorado technology sales professionals, there's a hackerspace meetup, there's Python 101, there's a soldering event, there's a Linux user group, there's a virtual reality meetup. Like, all of this is just happening tomorrow. And then Friday, so actually this is a really cool meetup, the Learn Cybersecurity. I believe this is put on by like a boot camp for, yes, it's called SecureSet. So SecureSet is a boot camp for people getting into cybersecurity. So similar to a coding boot camp, but you learn about like security and stuff like that. But they have this basically a capture the flag event open to beginners fairly often. But yeah, just look at all these events. Like Denver is amazing. You could pretty much go to a tech meetup and every single night, which is cool. Joe, Doritos and listening to Smart Talk. What else can you ask for? Are they Cool Ranch Doritos or Nacho Doritos? Yeah. Welcome, Aaron. We're all capable of being juniors and seniors. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. Eddie is saying, I had only heard Austin had a big music scene. But yeah, so they have I've heard they had a good music scene. I've heard they had a good food scene. I hear that it's like unlike anywhere else in Texas and that it's very progressive. I don't know. Greg says, boom, Denver. Been here since January. It's great, but still haven't met CJRL. Hey, you should come to the View meetup at some point. I didn't know you were in Denver. That's great. But yeah, if you look up on Meetup, the Denver Vue.js meetup, the next one is October 28th. Yeah, stop by. That'd be fun. Oh yeah, and there's a great Node meetup too. Brooks actually runs the Node meetup here. Denver Node.js meetup. This one? Yeah, it's technically Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins. But yeah, Brooks is one of the organizers of this meetup. There's so much tech going on here. All right. Yeah, there's not much chat action on Twitch, but that's okay. Elka, I see you in a lot of channels. Yeah, I saw you in some channels last night. I was lurking on Twitch last night, and Alka's all over the place. Some of it, I guess, was AlkaBot, but yeah. And I know Alka is a mod for a ton of Twitch streams as well. See you later, ATD. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night. Kevin is saying, look into the domain. A lot of startups offices there in Austin. Yeah, that's the other thing I had heard too. Like, I think they have a startup week similar to Denver Startup Week. Okay, this is my break timer. I think I said I was going to take a break after this break timer, so I'm gonna take a break. Oh, cool, Greg. Hope to see you there. That's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna take like a 5-minute break, and then when we come back, we will do a 6Q. Actually, before I go, I'll at least I'll at least start a poll for the next one that we're gonna solve, and then I'm gonna go take a break. Tortoise racing, that sounds fun. Rectangle into squares, triple trouble, valid phone number. Hello, totally sane, just watching, intimidated by code again. You should not be intimidated. And so if you're totally new to this, I do have a YouTube channel, and this is the 30th episode of Code Katas, but pretty much every problem I solve, I try to solve it in a way that beginners will understand, and I try to solve it first using pseudocode or comments. So we just talk generally and kind of just in terms of logic, how we would solve the thing without code, and then we solve it with code, and then we figure out many other ways that we can solve it with code. So hopefully this is something that you can enjoy, and hopefully it's not as intimidating. Okay, let's see these. Tortoise racing. Two tortoises named A and B must run a race. A starts with an average speed of 720 feet per hour. B knows she runs faster than A, and furthermore, has not finished her cabbage. When she starts at last, she can see that A has a 70-foot lead, but B's speed is 850 feet per hour. How long will it take B to catch A? Okay, this seems complicated, but we might do it. Rectangle into squares. The drawing below gives an idea of how to cut a given true rectangle into squares. True rectangle meaning that the two dimensions are different. Can you translate this drawing into an algorithm? You'll be given two dimensions, a positive integer length and a positive integer width. You'll return an array or string with the size of each of the squares. And I guess it's limited to 1 by 1, so you wouldn't have like fractional lengths. This also seems complicated. I don't know if I want to. I'm gonna close that. I'm not in the right brain space. Triple trouble. Write a function. Triple double that takes in two numbers and returns 1 if there is a straight triple of a number at any place in number 1, and also a straight double of the same number in number 2. That's worded so weird, but for example, we're given this number and this number, and we return 1 because num1 has a straight triple 9999. Okay, so we essentially have to search the string or search the number for a value that triples, and number 2 has a straight double 9. Okay, so we would given two numbers. The first one has to have a triple, and the second one has to have a double. So neither of these do, and then this one has a triple 6 and then a double 6. Okay, that seems doable. A valid phone number. Write a function that accepts a string and returns true if it's in the form of a phone number. Assume that any integer in any of the spots will produce a valid phone number. Only worry about the following format. Don't forget the space after the close parentheses. This seems fun. I've done a phone number formatter before on this stream, but never a validator, so that would be interesting. Okay, let's choose one more and then we'll vote. Array helpers. Oh, that might be fun. Yeah, this would be this will actually we have to implement quite a few methods, but this kata is designed to test your ability to extend the functionality of built-in classes. So essentially, we have to implement array methods: square, cube, average, sum, even, and odd, so that given an array, we can just call .square or .cube. It'll do that on the array. That one seems fun. Okay, let's. I'm gonna put a poll out there for which one we should do. And then I'm going to take a break, and then when I come back, we will solve it. Triple trouble. Tortoise racing. This seems difficult. If you want to see me sweat, choose that one. And then array helpers. This one would be fun. I like this one. And also, I would implement multiple methods, so you would actually see me write more code. So maybe you should vote for that one, but it's up to you. Okay, vote there. And vote there. Cool. So Totally Sane says, I know C++ and C basics. When it gets to the complicated stuff, Can't get past it, so taking on Python now. Oh, C++ and C Sharp. Cool. You should try JavaScript. That's what I do on this stream. Alka has come to my stream, but I think I stream too early usually. I feel like Alka has a really weird schedule. Like he doesn't sleep at night and goes to sleep like at 10 a.m. Maybe not all the time, but. Hello, Handika, who says it's 10 a.m. in Indonesia. Welcome. The tech crawl during South by Southwest. Yeah, that's the other thing I'd seen. So like, because I've seen videos of the South by Southwest conference where they actually have tech talks, and that's what would make me think that Austin has a pretty decent tech scene. I don't know. Okay, vote there. I'm going to take a 5-ish minute break. Alka says that's accurate. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna take a 5-ish minute break. I'm actually gonna leave my screen open so that anybody that pops into the stream knows that they should go there. Let me leave a note. How's that look? Okay, I'll be right back. Hello. I'm back. It looks like Array Helpers has won with 19 votes. Yeah. Let's do it. So we are going to solve Array Helpers to do. Cool. 2 extra votes for former student and colleague Array Helpers. That's awesome, Aaron. I binge watch your videos at work. That's awesome. That's also awesome. Everything's awesome. Oh. Bohan, I just forked YouTube Live Manager and it's still light theme. Did you push the latest update? I didn't. But it should not interfere with whatever code you write. I had to change like 3 lines. So I added the dark theme and then I added I changed some CSS to do the alternating colors. You know what? I'll just push it up. Just push up the latest stuff. Whoa, how did all that change? Oh, because there's that PMPM. Man. I guess I can commit that. What changed in my package JSON? Babel loader? Oh, because I had to fix that for PNPM. Okay, I'm gonna commit all of it. There you go, Bohan. So you should be able to pull from that remote and get the latest. All right, so the winner was Array Helpers. We're going to implement this. So it just says to do. You'll notice that they didn't provide us a function. And then you'll notice that they're just saying, they're calling these methods on an actual array. So this will be a fun learning. How do we modify the array to give it new functions like this? Huh? Well, you're about to find out. So I need a new file called arrayhelpers.js. And then we can pull in our tests. And I am just going to make these console logs instead. And really, we just want to log the answer. Like that. Let's make this a const. Okay, so we're going to start up Quokka. What error are we going to get? Maybe we'll get that error. I don't know if he actually said anything, but let's see. Well, actually, wait. Okay. The error is numbers.square is not a function, right? So it's trying to say, hey, array, let's call your square method. That's not a thing. How do we make it a thing? We modify the array prototype. Now, typically, this is not good practice. There's such a thing called array prototype pollution, and typically, if any JavaScript library does this, it's marked as vulnerable. And usually there are better ways. You can create helper methods rather than modifying the object prototype. But this is our code. We can modify the object prototype all we want. So essentially, what we will do is we'll say array.prototype and then we can just add things all day. So if you do array.prototype and you can see here, it's showing me all the possible built-in array methods. And so these methods like push, pop, map, filter, reduce, all of those are functions on the array prototype. So if we want to add a square function to the array prototype, we can do this. We can say array.prototype.square square equals a function. And I am purposefully not using an arrow function here because what needs to happen is inside of this function, I need access to the array itself. And that is where the context comes in. That's where this comes into play. So inside of here, if I just log this, we can see that right here, numbers.square is getting invoked. And then inside of this function, when I log this, I actually get numbers. So inside of our prototype functions, this refers to the array itself that we're operating on. This bindings only works with functions, regular functions. If I turn this into an arrow function, this is undefined. Can't do that. So this actually needs to be a function like that, and then we can implement our logic. So great, we've made it that far, and you'll notice this error isn't happening anymore. So it can invoke the function, but our function is returning nothing. So we see that here we have undefined. Okay, so now we need to implement it. So square will essentially return a new array where each element is the squared version of that of that value in the array. So what we need to do is a place to store the squared value. So we need a new array that we're going to create and return from this function. However, I'm going to double check. Like, does it want us to modify the array, or does it want us to create a new array? Let's see. Square must return a copy of the array containing all the values squared. Return it. Yeah, so these are not changing the array. So no, the original array must not be changed in any case. So we're not going to do that. We are going to create a new array, but technically I could modify things, right? I could say like this at 0 equals 42, and I've literally modified the array. And if we return this right here, now we can see when that function gets run, it changed the value to 42. So I don't want to mutate the array because that would be bad, because someone might need those values. So I'm going to create a new array with the stuff inside of it. Okay, so we need a place to store the values. We then need to iterate over the array. And if you remember, the array is this. So we're going to iterate over it. We will square the current element and insert the squared element into the squared values array. So we're going to iterate over, square the value, put it into the array, and then do it again for the whole thing. And at the end of it all, we will return the squared values. Cool. So this is our pseudocode. This is how we're going to implement it. There are many different ways we could do it. To me, this screams map, because a map will take an array and return a new array of the same length, where each value in the new array is some result of performing an operation on the values in the original array. So this definitely could be solved with a map, but I'm just going to solve it with a for loop first, and then I'll show you how we do it with a map. So we need a place to store the squared values. Let's call it squared, and this is going to start off as an empty array. We're good there. We now need to iterate over the array. This is going to look a little weird, but we're going to do a for loop. We'll say let I equal 0. Well, I is less than what? Can you guess? This dot length. Because this is the array, and it has a length property. I plus plus. And then we do the stuff. So yeah, this is maybe weird to see, but if you remember, because we're inside of this function, this is the array itself. Okay, now we need to square the element. So let's say, let's just call it result, and that's going to be the current element in the array times itself, or raised to the power of 2. Let's create a variable, let's call it element, and that's going to be this at I. And if we log element, we can see that that's going to be each value in the array. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now that we have the value, to square it, we'll just say element times element. We also could do element star star 2, I believe. So this is fairly new JavaScript, but it allows you to raise something to a power. We could also do math.pow with element and 2. So all three of these are different ways that we can square it. I'm gonna do that one. They all result in the same thing. And then the last thing we do is take that squared value and put it into our result array. So we're going to say squared dot push result. Cool. And then after all of that, we just return squared. And we've done it. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. Cool. Let's see this same thing, but with a map instead. Yeah. So when you're using a map, it creates a new array, so we don't have to define a new array. Basically, we can just say, and ultimately what we're going to do is we're just going to say return this dot map. Map accepts a function. In that function, we're going to get access to each element in the array. Element in the array. And then inside of there, we can do what we were doing before inside the for loop. However, in a map, you don't push. You just return. So whatever is returned from the map, so I'm going to say return result, is going to be put into the array at that indice in the result. And then that's pretty much all we have to do. So that does it. So this dot map, we get each element, and then we raise it to the power of 2. We could write this much simpler, though, because it's just a one-liner. And with arrow functions, if you have a single statement, that is what will be returned. So technically, we could just write it like this, and it still works, which is pretty sweet. Ta-da! Okay, that was fun. Now we'll move on to the next one, but I will catch up on the chat. Amy says, I want to watch Array Helpers, but I'm tired, so I will watch tomorrow. Good night. Good night, Amy. Thanks for tuning in. Steven is asking, so what does prototype mean? Is it just to call these methods? No, so prototype is like the basis for JavaScript. We'll talk about it. Yeah, let's see if there's anything good on MDN about the prototype. But essentially, it's a way of sharing functionality. I'll say that. It's probably maybe the easiest definition. Maybe it's not technically correct, but think of the prototype as a way of sharing functionality. And let's just do this. Yeah, so let's create a variable called obj, and that's literally going to be set to an object. If I say obj.prototype, is that not defined? Proto? I don't know, but the prototype for an object is actually the object constructor. And pretty much everything in JavaScript extends from the object prototype. Yeah, so even an array, so an array is basically a new type, but it actually extends the object prototype. It's a way of sharing functionality. So to think about it in terms of what we just wrote here, so because I said array.prototype, that means any array that we create will have access to this function. So down here, we created this new array called numbers. And because we put the square function on the prototype, that allows me to say numbers.square. So any other function you access on an array, so if you do like numbers.filter, numbers.forEach, numbers.map, all of the different functions that you call on numbers, those are actually functions on the array prototype. And so technically, we could re-implement all of those if we wanted to. We could say like array.prototype.map equals a function that does nothing. And now we've potentially broken our square function because it's trying to call map. So this .map would reach up and say, let's grab the map function of the prototype. That does absolutely nothing. And then it would just like return undefined. But yeah, so that was long-winded and roundabout, but essentially the prototype is a way of sharing things. So we define the functions on the array prototype, and then that function gets shared between any instance of an array. Cool. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is cube, which is going to be very similar. And for the sake of time, we'll just do this, and we'll call this array.prototype.cube instead. 1, 8, 27, 64, 125. So same thing, but instead of squaring it, we're cubing it. Numbers.sum. So we'll write this with a for loop first, but then this absolutely can be a reduce because we're reducing an array into a single value. So we want array.prototype.sum. So this is a function. Right now it returns nothing, so we see undefined. And so let's write this one. We need a place to store the sum. This will initially be probably a number that starts off with 0, initialized to 0. So we start sum at 0. We then iterate over the array. Remember, the array is this inside of these functions. Inside of here, we will add the current element to the sum. So we're going to increase the sum by the current element. Then we're going to do it again over and over and over until we've summed up all the values in the array. And then we are going to return the sum. Pretty easy. So let's do it. So let's say let's call it result. I don't want to call it sum because the function is called sum. Let's call it result. And we're going to start that off as 0. I'm using let because we are going to overwrite it. So on each iteration, we're going to overwrite the value in result with the new sum. We then iterate over the array. So that's a for loop over this dot length. We have the element, which is this at the given index, and we want to add the current element to the sum. So we'll just say result plus equals element, like that. And so as this iterates, it's going to increase the sum more and more as it reaches each element in the array. And then after all of that, we will return result. We've done it! Yay! Let's see this same thing with a reduce. If you're thinking about what higher order method would you use to solve this, I wouldn't use map because map returns a new array of the same length. And ultimately, I'm trying to find a number, so map wouldn't work. Filter returns a new array of a potentially shorter length, and I don't want that. Ultimately, I want to turn this array into a number. And so anytime you want to turn an array into something, you could turn it into a number, turn it into a string, turn it into an object, turn it into another array. You could potentially use a reduce to do what map is doing. But regardless, this screams reduce. So we can do this with a reduce. But before we do it with a reduce, I'll do it with the for each because step by step, it's a little bit easier to grasp. So this is our for loop solution. We could do the same thing. We could say this dot for each element. We pass it a function, and then we do that inside of the function. Right? So it's the same solution. The only difference is we're now using the built-in for each method, which you give it a function, and it will call that function on every element in the array. And so it does that, and we get the same result. So these two solutions, very similar. One is using the higher order method for each. The other one's just using a for loop. But now that we've turned it into a for each, it's actually fairly simple to turn this into a reduce. So we take this, and instead of for each, we're going to say reduce. And when you're doing a reduce, the first parameter isn't the element, it's the thing that you're accumulating. And in this case, we are accumulating result. So I'm going to put result right here. And then we can get rid of this initialization. And then the result started off at 0. So when you're doing a reduce, the second argument to the reduce function is the initial value. And in this case, our initial value is 0. So return that. In a reduce, you always return your accumulator, because on each iteration, this function is going to get called with the result of the previous iteration. So the first time this runs through, and let's say we're using this array, first time it runs through, result starts off as 0 because we told it to start off at 0. Element is going to be 1. We're going to say 0 plus 1 equals 1, and then we'll store 1 inside of result, and then we return 1. So now, when the function gets executed a second time, result is now 1, and element is 2. And so we do it again, and then 1 plus 2 is 3. And we call the function again, and now result is 3, and element is 3. So result, always, like, you always need to return your accumulator at the bottom of your reduce, because you need to use that in each iteration. We can actually write this in a much simpler way, though. Again, turn it into a one-liner. So we'll say return result plus element. Like that. And this will do it. So with this syntax, because we just have a single statement, we don't need the return. And we're essentially returning result plus element every time. And that gives us the same result. Cool. Well, that was fun. Let's do average. And average is actually going to be very easy because we can use these methods that we've already implemented. Right? And if you think about it, we're implementing these new prototype methods like sum and cube and square. But inside of them, we're actually using other prototype methods like map or for each. So inside of average, we can use our sum function, right? So an average is the sum of everything divided by the number of those things. So this will actually be really easy. We'll just return this dot sum divided by this dot length. Done. That was easy. And then we have two more functions to implement, even and odd. I guess even only returns the values that are even, and odd only returns the values that are odd. So let's do it. Array.prototype.even. It's going to be a function. But I've written a lot of code and I haven't looked at the chat, so let's catch up on the chat. Yeah, hopefully that helped with the prototype, and hopefully seeing me implement it multiple times is kind of driving home what's happening there. I realize that wasn't the best explanation. Yeah, and I mean, typically you won't have to use the prototype. But one thing I'll mention, which I guess I didn't mention earlier, is if you are implementing, or if you're using the class keyword in JavaScript, that actually is using a prototype. Let's just see an example really quick. So if I create class animal, and like this has a constructor, maybe it takes in the name, and it sets this dot name equal to name. And let's say, what do animals do? Eat. So, I don't know. You pass in food to eat, and then we'll say like this dot stomach dot push the food, and this dot stomach needs to be an array. Is that how you spell stomach? How do you spell stomach? I always spell stomach wrong. Oh, I spelled it right. Cool. Looks weird. So if you've ever used class syntax in JavaScript, you're actually doing prototype stuff. So class was introduced in ES 2015. And it's essentially just syntactic sugar for using a prototype. So before we had the class, we actually had to do this. We had to create a function called animal. This is known as a constructor function. And then we can take our same stuff that's in our constructor and do it here. But if I wanted to add that eat method, I actually add it to the prototype. So I'll say animal.prototype.eat equals a function that takes in the food. And then, like we've seen before, inside of this function, this is bound to the instance. So that allows us to do something like this .stomach.push. So these two are functionally equivalent. But this is just syntactic sugar. It's hiding the prototype from you, which is why a lot of people don't like classes in JavaScript, because they essentially say that people that are new to JavaScript, maybe that used to be C# or Java developers, they'll use the class keyword thinking it behaves like classical inheritance. But actually, it's using prototypical inheritance. So these two are functionally the same, but that's basically what's happening. Alicia says, I'm primarily in Java. I and this have become to be great friends. The thing is, in Java and in C#, the this keyword is actually much, much simpler than in JavaScript. Because in JavaScript, this can change depending on how a particular function was executed. Whereas in Java or C Sharp, this always refers to the current instance. And if you're accessing like fields or properties, you don't have to use this. You can just reference them by name. But yeah. Hello, Programming with Peter. Welcome. Svetlana is saying traveling to Denver tomorrow. Woohoo, that's awesome. Welcome to Denver. Programming with Peter says, can't believe that I caught the stream. It's almost 7 a.m. for me. Cool. Hopefully you got a good night's rest. JavaScript is beautiful. I really like it. Like, it lets you do a lot of things that you can't do in other languages. Yeah. See you later, Coding Cat. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, Programming with Peter is in Romania. Cool. Yeah, today I decided to dual stream, so I'm streaming on YouTube and on Twitch. I'm just trying it out. I think Twitch has a lesser delay than YouTube does, so if you want to see me sooner, watch on Twitch, I guess. I don't know. Anonymous says, how many hours do you spend on that beard? None. And I've just been letting it grow recently. It kind of just does its own thing. And then my mustache, maybe 1 minute to style. Just put a little bit of product in it. It's good to go. Hello, Kaizen. Welcome to the stream. Brooke Zerker was talking to Totally Sane in the Twitch chat. So why do you think that you can't get past hard parts? And Totally Sane says, sometimes understanding why it does what it does. I'm hard-headed. Brooks says, I've been learning Rust, and I often come back to the why after playing with the code for a bit. It's a good way to learn the limits of JavaScript by playing with the prototypes. Yep, definitely. For example, I once tried putting array methods on the string objects prototype. Yeah, you could absolutely do that. So you've probably seen on this stream before, like if we ever want to operate on a string but do something like a reduce, we typically say something like array.prototype.call or array.prototype.reduce.call, and we call it on the string. Is my break timer. Let's stretch. Or you say string.split, which turns it into an array, and then you can say .reduce. But technically, we could say string.prototype.reduce and then actually implement that for strings, which would be cool. Otopai says, this channel is awesome. Thank you, Otopai. Otopai is asking, what advice do you have to get better in algorithm challenges? Practice. That's literally, it's practice. And I guess like deliberate practice. So on this stream, I solve Code Wars, Code Katas, but you could also use things like HackerRank or Project Euler. There's a lot of other ones out there. But really just solving more and more problems, because the more problems you solve, the more patterns you start to recognize. And Code Wars is cool because you can start off with things that are very simple, like the 8 Qs, and build your way up. And you could potentially just solve all the 8 Qs that you could find. They're going to be fairly easy, but once you solve enough of them, you'll start noticing patterns, you'll get better at breaking down problems, and then you can move on to the more difficult ones. But yeah, practice. That's my main advice. Yeah, Brooke says practice and then take time to think about why something went well or not after, then try something different the next time. Yeah, it's all about like self-evaluation. So, and that like leads in, works well with deliberate practice. So, make it a habit to solve 3 or 4 coding problems a day or 2 coding problems a day, whatever you have time for. But then also make time for reflection. So like, how long did it take you to solve it? Could you think of multiple ways to solve it? And potentially you could journal that kind of stuff. And that also allows you to see that you're improving, because a lot of times as a beginner, it's very easy to get stuck in the mess of learning, and you feel like you're making no progress. But if you have a learning journal, you can keep track of those things. So you can go back and look, oh, a month ago, it took me 30 minutes to solve a problem like this, and now I can do it in 10. So that too. String.prototype.reduce equals array.prototype.reduce. That would actually work because it would still do the correct binding and everything. Yeah. Svetlana is packing now, visiting their best friend, and going to a concert on Friday. Oh, cool. What concert are you going to? Ronald is saying, I'm a member of Code Signal. I've never tried Code Wars. I've never heard of Code Signal. Or maybe I have. Let's see. Oh, cool. This seems probably more similar to HackerRank, because both of those things are, like, people use them for hiring. Code Wars is more along the lines of just self-practice. You do have a public profile, but I feel like it's really just for practicing and leveling up. Whereas those other things, a lot of employers might use them for coding challenges or like coding screeners when they're hiring people. Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's finish this one up. So we are currently on even. So what we need to do is return an array that only has the even values inside of it. So we'll do this again manually with a for loop, and then I'll show you how we will turn it into what? A filter. Because a filter allows you to take an array of many elements and potentially filter it down to an array of lesser elements. So that's exactly what needs to happen here with even and odd. But we'll solve it with a for loop first. So we need a place to store the evens. We then need to iterate over the array, which again is this in this case. We then need to check if current element is even, and if it is, add to evens array, or like push it into the evens array. If it's not, do nothing. And after all of that, return the evens array. Cool. So we need a place to store the evens. Just going to start off as an empty array. We then need a for loop. And then inside of the for loop, we need to check if the current element is even. So I'll say if element mod2 is equal to 0. And so this checks to see if the remainder of the division by 2 is equal to 0. And if it is, that means it's even. If it is, then we'll push it into the array. So we'll say evens.push element. Like that. And then after all of it, we will return the evens. We've done it. Cool. So let's see this same function, but implemented with a filter. Because a filter takes an array of many elements and turns it into an array of potentially lesser elements. You potentially could get back an array that is the same length if they all match the condition, but let's see. Okay, so we are going to return this dot filter. Filter takes a function where we'll get access to each element, and then we can do something. And what we want to do is this condition right here. And actually, I'm going to be very verbose, but then we'll tie it down. So if the current element is divisible by 2, return true. Else, return false. So the way a filter works is if the function returns true, that element will show up in the resulting array. If the function returns false, that element will not show up in the resulting array. So a lot of people, instead of returning true or false, they return like the element itself. You always want to return either true or false. We can see that works too. But there is a shorthand for this because element mod2 equals 0 results in either true or false. So we could technically just return that. So we filter over the array. If the element is divisible by 2, we return 0. We return true. If it's not, we return false. And then we get an array with only even numbers in it. Yeah, and again, this could be turned into just like a nice little one-line filter. Like that. And then odd, exactly the same. We'll just say mod2 is not equal to 0. And we'll say dot odd. Done. That was fun. That was so much fun. Cool. Does anyone have other suggestions for how to solve these things? Oh yeah, Ronald had never tried Code Wars. Code Wars is cool, says Kaizen. Hello, Kaizen. You can compare your solution with others. Like in the video I did, I released 1. It makes a difference to try and explain something as you do it. And 2, there are many solutions. Yeah, so I'll show that after I submit my solution. You can see all the different ways that people solve it. Furkan is asking, in VS Code, what extension are you using for showing green and red boxes on each line? Oh Oh, here, yes, and that actually runs the code, and you can see down at the bottom, console logs show up inside of the editor. So this is Quokka.js. They have a plugin for VS Code, Sublime, Atom, all that good stuff. The free version is fairly limited, so it's good enough to use in this code here because we're literally just working on the code that I'm writing in this file. But if you want to import modules or do other things, you need to get the pro version. This is my break timer. Have I been streaming? I've been streaming for 2 hours. I might end it here. I don't. I only solved 2 katas. This one was technically like multiple functions though. Yeah, I might go because it's late and I got things to do tomorrow. Kaizen says, "Holy subs! I only see now that you're approaching 15K. So cool. Been here since you were where I am now. Inspiring. Yeah, Kaizen's been here since the beginning. But yeah, I'm almost at 15,000 subs. It's great." Joe is saying we can simplify the thing for odd, and the reason we can do that is because 0 is falsy. So right here we're saying if element mod 2 does not equal 0, here we can say element mod 2 because I'll just write it separately. Element mod 2 returns the remainder of the division by 2. And if the remainder of the division by 2 is 0, in JavaScript, 0 is falsy, so that would return false. And then if it's not divisible by 2, it'll return the remainder of the division, and in JavaScript, any value is truthy. So what Joe is suggesting, thank you, Joe, that by just returning the result, we can tap into the fact that it's doing like truthy falsy things, and that still works. Cool. All right, let's send this to Code Wars. I'm gonna use those two as my square and my cube. We're gonna use this one as the sum and the average. And then we'll send our two evens and odds. Attempt. We did it! Yay! Submit final. So when you submit final, I'll show you. You can see other people's solutions as well. For those of you watching on YouTube, is it buffering? I'm getting like a bad streaming keyframe frequency thing on YouTube, but I don't know. Aaron says, "This was great, CJ. Thanks for doing these. Appreciate your work. Congrats on your subs. Keep up the fantastical work." Thank you so much, Aaron. You have a wonderful night. Svetlana is going to see Bastille. I don't think I've heard of Bastille. Oh, at the Mission Ballroom is a very nice venue. I saw Tycho there a few weeks ago. It's like a brand new venue. Yeah, brand new. There's not a bad seat in the house. I mean, I guess unless you're in the standing room only area, but that goes without saying. But it's a really cool venue. Pijo is saying YouTube is working fine. 2 hours in. Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah, it potentially doesn't like the multi-streamer thing that I'm using, but seems to work well enough. Okay, let's look at the solutions that people have submitted. So we can see here they wrote it all of them are one-liners, but they're essentially the same solutions. Instead of using the POW operator, they're using element times itself. That's cool. Here they're using object.assign. So object.assign will take in an object as the first parameter. It'll take in an object as the second parameter, but then all of the properties of the object that are in the second parameter will get put as properties on the first parameter. So this essentially, this is a way of taking all of these functions, which were defined on this object, and putting them onto the prototype. Really no different than just doing dot function name. Cool. Yeah, and this is another way to do it. So instead of defining the functions like this as function expressions, you can define them as function declarations and give them a good name, and then just put the function name on the assignment. Cool. All right. I think I might end it there. Should I try a 5Q? Should I do another 6Q? I've been streaming for 2 hours. I think I'm going to go. The thing is, I don't know, the more and more people watch my stream, the more chats that happen, and then the less coding that actually happens. Because typically on the stream, if it's like 2.5 hours or so, I'll do like 4. Today I've only done 2. I think that's enough, though. I think it's enough. Kaizen is saying, haven't buffered, just some latency. That's cool. Yeah, Pijo is saying, just went to mission. It's nice. Beer, bathrooms, all right there. Yeah, they have plenty of bathrooms. They have plenty of bars. So, like, they have, like, little bars located all around the place. There's, like, stadium seating and then, like, a balcony area with tons of room. I guess some shows might have reserve seating, but the show I went to, you could pretty much sit anywhere you want in the upper area. It's a really nice place. Okay, that's good. Joe says, finish off the stream tomorrow for Katas? What? Like, do another one? Alka says, also, one thing about Twitch is that there's a real theater mode like YouTube Gaming tried. Twitch is it's a better streaming platform. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Yeah. Alka says, there's nothing to do tomorrow. What do you mean? What is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday? I don't know. Hello, Lucas. Welcome. I might actually be ending the stream. I think I'm going to end the stream. I've been streaming for 2 hours. We only solved 2, but they were fun. And technically, the second one was like 6 functions that we implemented. We learned about the prototype. That was fun. I'm going to end it there. All the code that I wrote, I do push up to GitHub. github.com/codinggarden/code-katas. So you'll see episode 30 up there soon. And Joe says, yes, another one. You mean tomorrow? Maybe. I was thinking of potentially doing, on Wednesdays, like a 1 hour Kata stream in the morning, and then like a 1 or 2 hour Kata stream in the evening. So that way people that are on the other side of the world can tune in the morning, and then people that normally tune in can tune in at night. I just have to get to bed early enough and wake up early enough, which doesn't happen that often. So. Oh, August said, you said you were going to get off because you had things to do tomorrow, but there's nothing to do. I do have things to do. Hello, Danny, who says, are you going to mix Twitch and YouTube chat in your chat manager? That's the plan. And someone from the Coding Garden Discord mentioned that they're going to make a pull request to start that. But if they don't finish it, I'm definitely going to do that. And I think ultimately this is going to be the stream dashboard manager. This will have YouTube chat, Twitch chat, Discord chat. Eventually we'll make it so that we can do like custom emotes and like post images and stuff like that. But yeah. Brooke says, I stream in the morning on Wednesdays. Okay, then I probably won't. I don't want to interfere with your streaming. Danny says, FYI though, Starstruck did it what's the word? Did it censor your chat? What did you mean to say? There is a tool that does that? YouTube chat, Twitch chat combined with Restream? Oh, I have links removed. Okay, Restream. That's it. How good is it though? Does it cost money? Oh, and I actually mentioned this earlier. I don't want to use Restream because you have to offer up your firstborn child to use the service. And by that I mean you have to grant them full and complete access to your YouTube account, which I don't want to do. And they have, I guess it's free for personal accounts. But I don't like the fact that to stream, I have to grant like read write access to my YouTube channel. For this, I found a Docker container called Multi-Streamer, which is an old it's a web app. It's open source, and then he also created a Docker container that spins the whole thing up, and it supports many different streaming services. I think they were listed. Yeah, all these streaming services. So I have that running on a Docker container on my streaming machine. Brooks is saying collab with a Rust/JavaScript code kata stream. It would be interesting to see me try to solve katas with Rust and also learn Rust because I know nothing about it. Yes, I like the idea. Alka is saying, I was asked by Restream to make some animations for chat, but I didn't get around to it. You make animations? That's great. Yeah. Alaska saying it's 6 a.m. there. Yeah, it's very early for people in other parts of the world. Hello, Splart from Uruguay, but I'm heading off now. Cool. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks to all the people watching on Twitch. This was like the first time that I ever did this, so that's cool. And I appreciate you. Like I said, I'm gonna push all this code up to GitHub. I will probably stream this weekend. There are things I need to do, like the map app that we're working on. That's got to get done. The chat client, we need to add more features to this thing. We got things to do. I'm gonna try to stream this weekend. I mean, maybe Brooks is gonna mention it, but Brooks is going to be coming on the show on Sunday, I believe. I have to confirm that. But he's gonna come on the show, and we're just gonna do a dev talk, interview, hangout style stream. So that'll be fun, and you'll get to see. Well, I mean, you won't really see it, but I have a new streaming area set up where I'll have chairs, I'll have podcast mics, we're gonna have headphones. It's gonna be great. Cheers, guys, and thanks for tuning in. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this.